Let me start by saying that this webinar is the first session of the event series called Local Actions for a Shared Green Deal that basically spotlights 24 local community actions for a shared Green Deal. So through a mix of social sciences and humanities, the series aims to address how local involvement can contribute to the Green Deal success, focus specifically around the streams of biodiversity, mobility, energy, food, renovations, and circularity, and addressing the often overlooked level between individuals and governance. So scheduled from today through till the end of May, if I'm not mistaken, the series offers insights on how we can align the European ambitions with community actions. The event series, of course, are organized by the Shared Green Deal project. It is a 5-year EU-funded project on social sciences and humanities research to support the EU Green Deal. And what the project seeks is to address how research in areas like sociology and human geography or psychology can support socially innovative practices for the climate change goals, such as the ones set by the EU. It goes without saying, of course, that communities across Europe are key to make the European Green Deal work so that we can achieve climate neutrality till 2050. But the big question is how, of course. And this is something that we will discuss here today and hear insights from case studies and practitioners working on the field on such topic. As I mentioned, yeah, we cover the 6 sustainability topic areas of energy, circular economy, renovations, mobility, food, and biodiversity. And our consortium of more than 20 partners from across Europe works closely with local authorities and NGOs who are at the forefront of delivering climate change policies. So something to look for is an upcoming publication of case study guides, such as the ones we will present today from the biodiversity experiment stream. And over this webinar series, you will hear about the rest of them, which will be published in autumn. So stay tuned. This is just a quick reminder of today's agenda and what we will discuss today. So after a short introductory part of how and why valuation of biodiversity is important and how it is linked to the EU's biodiversity agenda, then we will take a journey across the 4 sets of inspirational local actions in Greece, Ireland, Slovenia, and Sweden, during which experts and local experiment leaders will share their insights on the various ways in which biodiversity is perceived by adults all around Europe, in different contexts, in different urban settings, and try to investigate what are the underlying cultural values that can actually help mobilize change. After the 4 shared Green Deal experiments, we will hear from another very interesting case study from the project Planet 4B, where we will hear more about experiences for integrating biodiversity into everyday decision making. Just before we start this webinar now, in the introductory part, I can invite you all to answer a short question on Slido and understand a little better the audience today. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the process, so you can either just scan the barcode or you can type the Slido, go to the Slido website and enter the code Green Deal. I can give you some time to scan. I hope you can see the screen now of the Slido results. So just to understand a little bit our audience and you and your needs, we kindly ask you to send us what stakeholder type are you? I see that we have mostly researchers and NGOs, also some practitioners on the field, local authorities, and other. This is really nice to see the results. You can still share the, you can still type your questions. So now, can you see my slide now on countering biodiversity loss, just to be sure?
No, we still see the...
No, we see the Slido. Oh, there it is.
No.
Just not in slide mode.
Just not in slide, yeah. Okay, now it should work.
Yes.
Awesome. So yeah, diving into the introductory part of the webinar. We all know that loss of biodiversity and habitats, and of course the services they provide, is an existential threat to Europe and the world, of course. Biodiversity, of course, we mean all the variation of life at the level of genes, species, and ecosystems, or in other words, the variability among all living organisms, but also the complex ecological connections in which they are part. And this includes the diversity within species, genes, and ecosystems. In 2020, the EU launched its new biodiversity strategy, aiming to make 30% of Europe protected areas and restore degraded ecosystems on land and at sea across the whole of Europe. Last month, actually, we had the EU Parliament voting for the landmark deal on a new law to restore and protect nature with certain objectives that EU countries must restore at least 30% of habitats in poor condition by 2030. It is a first continent-wide comprehensive law of its kind. So it becomes clear that one key aspect to succeed with this ambition is for citizens, European citizens, to gain increased knowledge on the preservation and restoration of biodiversity. So transformative societal change is needed to address the global biodiversity crisis, and this relies on shifting away from predominant values that currently overemphasize more the short term or the individual gains to more sustainability aligned values across the society. Biodiversity and ecosystems provide us with food, health, materials, recreation, and well-being. They filter our air and water. They regulate the climate. They convert waste back into resources. And the recognition of nature's diverse values is not something new. Environmental research and policy communities have worked for several decades to kind of operationalize the ecosystem services concept and this kind of a methodology to quantify basically how nature affects humans. And we understand that the causes of the crisis and the biodiversity loss, but also the opportunities to address them, are linked in the ways that nature is valued in political, economic decisions of all levels. So because of the multiple ways in which people conceive the good quality of life is reflected, we express broad values that this shapes our interactions with nature, And it can take various forms such as responsibility or stewardship or what justice means. And let me also explain that by values or cultural values, we mean the meaning which is placed upon a good by an individual or a group or society. And this, of course, can have a variety across time and location. So in the graph to the right, you can see how the diversity of values of nature underpins multiple pathways towards sustainability. It was produced by the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services 2 years ago. And basically, it shows us that there are alternative pathways to achieve the SDGs. And this is supported by different stakeholders, which respond in different contexts and different needs and are being adjusted. So, for example, a green economy pathway, as you can see, might have the greatest traction among certain stakeholders, but this is also contested by alternative pathways, which are underpinned by a different set of values. So despite all these benefits of nature and nature's valuation, basically, it is true that most policymaking approaches prioritize only a narrow set of values. And this comes at an expense of both the nature and society, and of course, future generations. So also in this, following this approach, a lot of times we might ignore values which are associated with indigenous people, local communities, or certain marginalized groups. So to understand how values are formed and changed and shaped over time, this will help policymakers to identify better options and achieve outcomes that are better aligned with the sustainability objectives. Now, going to our preserving biodiversity experiment stream, this social experiment stream will set up the so-called study circles, within which adult participants will explore the cultural values linked to biodiversity, biodiversity laws, but also potential solutions in rural and urban areas. What we call study circles is a non-formal community approach of learning, which was originated in Sweden. Basically, it is cooperative learning about different concepts, skills, and also values. So within this study circle approach, we want to engage, and we engage the adult participants in order to explore this link between cultural values and biodiversity in their different contexts. The stream especially supported and keeps supporting the improving of knowledge, education, and skills of the participants. These experiments, these study circles, lasted almost for a year now, and they are facilitated by 2 NGOs and 2 local authorities that you will hear more about in a bit. So these, as we call them, local actors or our local partners have professional experience in group dynamics and stakeholder engagement in order to explore with the participants of the study circle the importance of biodiversity in everyday life, or the different roles that biodiversity and ecosystem services have in some communities, or the challenges that they may face. A key group also within our specific stream of biodiversity was also to engage marginalized or vulnerable social groups. The issues of inclusivity and diversity are at the heart of the Shared Green Deal project, and it particularly accounts for disadvantaged or vulnerable social groups. For example, as the project kicked off, we were in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, so individuals that felt isolated during this period, or their relationship with nature changed for various reasons, were a key target for us because we wanted to involve them in the social experimentation and hear more about their views on biodiversity issues. On the photo to the left, you can see our team, the Shared Green Deal project partners and our local partners who run the study circles. The Shared Green Deal project partners is, as I said, the research center of the Slovenian Academy of Sciences and Arts, and the research support to the Slovenian Research Center is the Carinthia University of Applied Sciences. We, as MioExte, are the practice leads that work closely with the 4 local partners and the implementation of their experiments. On this map, you can see our local initiatives across Europe. We have the Posoški razvojni Center located in Tolmin, Slovenia, an NGO. Our second NGO is the Ballyhoura Development located in Kilfinane, Ireland, the city of Stockholm, and our second municipality, the Municipality of Amaroussion, located in Athens, Greece. So now I would like to invite Ms. Mateja Smit-Hribar, our Shared Green Deal partner that was working closely with the Slovenian study case to present us her insight. So Mateja, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Haris. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly.
Okay, thank you. So good morning to everyone. As Haris mentioned, I'm Mateja Smit-Hribar from Unveiling Geographical Institute at the Research Center of Slovenian Academy of Sciences and Arts. And I will introduce you to the Slovenian study circle, which was run by the Posoški razvojni Center, Biodiversity Development Center. The name of this study circle is Nature's Narrative, Unveiling Stories, and it takes place in the northwestern part of Slovenia in the beautiful Upper Soča Valley, which is predominantly rural areas, as you can see on the picture. The goals of these study circles are to explore different values that people place upon the biodiversity in Tolmin Basin and also in the Upper Soča Valley, which is a wider area, to better understand nature through proactive learning and research activities, to raise people awareness of the local biodiversity and cultural landscape, and also to promote lifelong outdoor learning. Next, please. And next slide, please. Thank you. So this study circle started in May last year, and in the course of 10 months and 9 meetings, members carried out various activities. For example, they learned with experts focusing on the local flora and fauna, such as using different approaches, such as nature observation by day and night. They discover and explore the local biodiversity, and very soon they decided that they want to focus on local birds. So then they also got involved in citizen science, in the activity Birds Around Us that was organized by BirdLife in Slovenia. They ran a prize game and designed t-shirts with a picture of local birds that can be seen on the bottom right side. They went on an excursion to a nature reserve to learn much more about birds. And finally, towards the final meetings, they also upgraded the local community garden into an outdoor classroom. Next one, please. So to give you some background about the study circle, according to the study circle approach, members need to set learning and action goals with the help of a mentor. So this means that the members have to collectively decide what they wish to learn at the group level, and these are so-called learning goals. And they also have to decide how they want to pass the knowledge on to the local community or the wider public. And this is part of the action goals. So in this Slovenian circle, that study circle that I'm presenting, members have decided that they want to learn about local flora and fauna with a focus on birds. They want to learn about pollinators, about invasive plants, and citizen science. In terms of action goals dedicated to share knowledge, members set several activities. For example, a promotional campaign in the form of a prize games, which was already mentioned. And the aim of this prize game was to encourage residents to identify the birds in their neighborhood, then setting up the bird body camera in the school garden to be shared also by other users. They upgrading the community garden into an outdoor classroom with didactic locations for observing birds, wild pollinators, and native plants. And of course, finally, organizing the final public event. And the final public event already happened. It took place in Tolmin 2 days ago on Tuesday, March 12th, also called St. Gregory's Day, which according to Slovenian tradition is the day when birds are getting married. So meaning like the spring is here, the coming of the spring. Members prepared 4 places in the community garden that functioned like a world cafe. One such location you can see on the picture on the left. And these 4 places were, the first one was a place with an old Slovenian poem about bird sweating, was recited with the help of a paper theater. So this is what you can see on the photo. Then on another place, the pigeon post and its history were presented. This was the place behind. The 4th place was about the local birds, and on this occasion they set up 3 nesting boxes for birds in the nearby hedgerow. And the 4th place was the most favorable by kids, as it was dedicated to the search for sweets left by birds in the hedgerow. However, probably the most important outcome of this study circle, which will also remain after the study circle will be completed, is the outdoor classroom with didactic locations in the community garden, where different target groups can learn about biodiversity. Members have already decided to start a new study circle, which according to plans will start in April, where they wish to focus on developing garden pedagogy and creating new didactic places. And now I would like to invite the study circle mentor, Patricia Reyes, to tell us more about the Slovenian study circles on unveiling stories from nature, and especially to highlight what opportunities have emerged by participating in the study circle. So please, Patricia, the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you, Mateja, for this presentation of our activities of study circle. So during these meetings, we focused on thinking also about how we will share the acquired knowledge with the local community and with which approaches we want to create opportunities and possibilities for different generations to discover and learn about biodiversity in the local area. This is how we came up with many ideas. Some ideas we realized, some not, but some of them have made a mark in the local community. Mateja mentioned that this idea of upgrading the community garden into an outdoor classroom with stations for learning about flora and fauna, and that we have already set a few examples. This definitely left the biggest impression in the local community. In this realization, various institutions and organizations like our organization, but also kindergarten, primary school, library, and so on, have recognized the possibility and potential of developing this space for educational purposes. So in April, we will start with new study circles because we really want and would like all of us to continue with a realization of this idea. And I think that this is not work just for 1 or 2 years. There we have a lot of ideas for many years. So I can say with this for this study circle that our organization, Posoški razvojni center, Biodiversity Development Center, has started to develop our education in a more outdoor education. Now I am talking about outdoor education in a more planned and systematic way, but for sure, for the first time on the topic of biodiversity. We didn't teach before that study circle about biodiversity. And of course, ideas are still in the beginning, but they are focused on using selected parts of the green infrastructures also as a learning spaces where we can learn about nature, in nature, and with nature. So we really want to create this small place in garden with rich biodiversity, place of meeting, researching, observing, and learning. I think that if somebody can add somebody else you want to know, but I think that this is really the...
Thank you very much, Mateja and Patricia. It's really, really inspiring to see what the Slovenian study circle has achieved over the course of almost a year, but also that there is a strong willingness to continue this and leaving something back to the community. So really, really beautiful. Thank you. We can move now to Ireland and the actions of another NGO for which Ms. Selina Anna Maria Strasser from the Carinthia University from Austria will kindly present us. The floor is yours, Selina.
Thank you, Haris. I hope you can hear me well, everybody.
Yes, yes.
So hello from the south of Austria. I'm very happy to present you the local partner from Ballyhoura Development in Ireland. And the name of the study circle is Stop, Look, Listen, Preserving Biodiversity in Ballyhoura country. And the Ballyhoura region is a predominantly rural area in the Midwest of Ireland. And the Ballyhoura Development strives to build empowered, inclusive communities that understand, value and protect the natural and built environment through a range of community-led and community-focused projects and programs. And the aim of the study circle, which takes place in Ireland, so the experiment will seek to educate the participants on how to preserve biodiversity in this whole region by supporting them to stop, look, and listen to the biodiversity in the region and to take note of what they see and hear and also what they don't. The project will focus on educating and raising awareness of biodiversity and supporting participants to initiate and develop a positive change in their community. And an environmental education model will be developed through the project, and this will be used to support the future learning to sustain the impact of this project. The social experiment, so the study circle, will use or is using creative activities to encourage all the participants to value biodiversity, and they will be supported to become like ambassadors for biodiversity in their own communities. Please, the next slide. Thank you. The experiment so far has a very big progress during the whole year. So the study circle started last year in early summer in Ireland, and they finished now a week before. And the activities included kind of loop walks in the surrounding area, exploring the biodiversity there. They did a photography workshop, pottery, and also storytelling. So, for example, the pottery workshop, everyone was focused and enjoying the creative work, and the department made some suggestions to link the biodiversity and the study circle participants. They could let their creativity run wild as to which plants or flowers they want to design on their pottery pieces. There were a lot of exchange with various biodiversity experts, for example, in biodiversity itself or also in Irish language. For example, the speaker of the study circle biodiversity and place names, you can see a picture here on the PowerPoint. They gave the participants an understanding of the link between nature and biodiversity and various Irish words, and many Gaelic words in particular were picked up. The group of the study circle also visited an apple farm for the understanding how farmers can embrace biodiversity to improve productivity on their farm. So it was also a very practical focused study circle. And during the last study circles, they were building hanging baskets, and now they can plant their strawberries there. The project implementation approach is very flexible. So that means that our Irish partners, Rhiannon and John, always respond to the needs of the participants and constantly ask their study circle participants for their feedback. And based on these feedbacks, the Irish partner adapt the next steps of the study circle. Thus, this experiment facilitates inclusion, empowerment, and this is supported the local knowledge through this training and peer learning and networking. Please, the next slide. So the Irish Study Circle has also a lot of learning and action goals. There are a large number of learning objectives in the Irish Study Circle. I would now like to present some of them. So the first point is learning by doing. Where possible, the learning has been experiential. The relevance, so the content of the study circle has been kept relevant and meaningful to the participants. And this has been done by focusing on local biodiversity and including current issues in the study circle, such as biodiversity loss, climate change, and the changes to Irish agriculture. The involvement is also important. All the participants in this study circle have the opportunity to input into the program and suggest areas of study, like I mentioned before. And some examples of learning objectives are how to protect and conserve local biodiversity, the importance of biodiversity in general, understanding citizen science, for example, also the difference between agriculture and agriculture with biodiversity. To came to the example of the apple farm, learning about farmer-led innovations and understand how food production can work with biodiversity. And also the importance of our ecosystems and life cycles. And also the main focus is how can you combine creativity and biodiversity? And they also learned some very nice technical skills, for example, during the photography workshop. And the study circle of Ireland will now lead to a final event. They are at the moment creating a film. They're doing the film clips where the participant can share their experiences during the study circles and also the experiences with regard to biodiversity. The roundtable discussion will be filmed. And also during this final event, there will be a kind of an interactive exhibition. So there's a portal set it up on the Ballyhoura website where people can upload biodiversity photos in advance. And people will be asked to take photos in advance of things or environments which have meaning to them in terms of biodiversity. And if somebody is interested, we can definitely share this link of this competition on the website of Ballyhoura. And also a speaker will be involved to the final event. And also the final event will have a very important output. So the guests at the event will be invited at the end of the event to share the ideas of how can they integrate biodiversity into their daily lives. And that could be possible idea for future developments in the Ballyhoura country with regard to biodiversity. So now I would like to hand over the word to my very great Irish partners, Rhiannon Laubach and John Scanlon, and ask you the question, how was the experience of exploring the link between biodiversity and cultural values within your study circle?
Good morning, everyone, and good morning, Selena. Thank you for presenting that. So for us, the link between cultural values and biodiversity has been a very important part of our study circle. And for farming has been plays a very important part in Irish culture. And we are still a predominantly agricultural area. And it plays a role in shaping the landscape and biodiversity of our catchment area. And participants taking part in the experiment have been very enthusiastic to learn more about farming. In the beginning, this came up a lot in our learning goals. So we've had 3 study circles that really explored the cultural values of farming and how it linked into biodiversity. These included a guided walk through an agricultural landscape, and this gave the opportunity to softly bring up areas to discuss, such as climate change and the impact that farming has on our landscape. Then we moved to a more focused study circle, which we explored agri-environmental schemes and the positive ways that farmers work towards nurturing biodiversity and improving the environment. And after that, we wanted practical action. So we took a visit to the local apple farm, and we saw where a farmer could still maintain a commercial enterprise and also work towards protecting biodiversity. And the heritage value of biodiversity was also explored through study circles that focused on the Irish language. As Selena mentioned, we had a workshop on place names and biodiversity and exploring how elements of biodiversity have been used to develop place names that have been in place for hundreds and hundreds of years, and how these names are something that we need to protect and value going into the future. And that creativity value has also is a huge part of the Irish culture, and we also try to link it into the study circle by having workshops in pottery, play, and also woodwork, and also through our film. That's good. Thank you very much. That's me done.
Thank you, Rhiannon.
Yuri and Selena. Definitely, I think the Irish study circle was the most creative one, but also action-oriented. So also another very, very interesting case study. Thank you both. Now we can move to our third case study, which is the Amaroussion biodiversity local experiment that I was the Shared Green Deal project partner who was following it. Our local partner is the Municipality of Amaroussion. As I learned from our local partner, it comes from the Greek word Amarousia, which is another name given to goddess Artemis of hunting. So it is an area which has been populated since ancient times. However, it is also a very important financial and business suburb of Athens, which has been heavily urbanized and densely populated over the last decades. However, it has 16 urban green spaces, which are very important for the municipality. So when the municipality joined the project, there hasn't been an actual study circle in Greece in the strict way that it is that this approach was originated in Sweden. So it was something quite interesting for the municipality to explore as this social experimentation and involve its citizens to learn more about the typical Mediterranean vegetation that it can be found in this large-scale urban system in its limited green spaces, but also discover the history behind the green spaces of the municipality. Some of these estates, mansions, or parks have a really long history or are connected with the municipality in a cultural way. So that was quite interesting for the Greek Study Circle. But also they wanted to raise awareness on the threats to urban biodiversity. There seems to be a need by the participants of the study circles to learn more about it and learn what they can do in their urban setting in order to better preserve these limited but valuable green spaces that the municipality offers to them. So the progress of the social experiment was that it became very, very clear from the beginning that all participants wanted to have to co-develop outdoor activities in the historic green spaces of the municipality. So with the guidance of their mentor and invited experts, they visited all of the main historic green space of the municipality and had open discussions there on the ground. But was something really interesting to most of them was also to learn about urban beekeeping. They did a study visit to a museum, which learned more about the history of beekeeping in Greece and what kind of values are related with it throughout the centuries. The role of pollinators, but also endemic Greek herbs and their use. Some of the key study visits that the Greek Study Circle implemented was visits to pocket parks in order to discuss what is their meaning, why it is a priority for the municipality, and what does it mean in the face of climate change to have certain small green lungs at the city center of a big European capital, and how this can actually contribute to climate change adaptation and mitigation. A very positive outcome was that a lot of synergies were developed with local associations and social groups that the municipality engages in other initiatives or activities. Also to secure a certain number of, let's say, vulnerable individuals or marginalized representatives of marginalized social groups. However, what was a really, really positive outcome was the group dynamics of the study circle that were developed as the time progressed, because it was something new both for the municipality and for Greek citizens that they haven't heard, let's say, the term study circle. Friendship, let's say, were developed with biodiversity and its link to culture as a vehicle. So that was something really great to hear. And certain time was allocated in each session of this study circle to actually reflect on what did the participants learn and what do they want to gain from co-designing activities together. This is how also they decide the thematics of each study circle. It is open to discussion. And the study circle is almost coming to an end. Over the time of 1 year, the Greek Study Circle and its participants decided what they wanted to really learn was about their local biodiversity, of course, to be able to protect it in their daily life, but also because there seemed to be a sense of disconnection with nature. As citizens of such a large municipality, the time they allocate to nature is really limited. So it was something really important for them in order also to have a sense of community and a sense of belonging to the municipality. So they decided quite recently, they took the decision to visit again one of their favorite study visit, which was the protected garden at the Sigros estate, and actually tag the plants and the endemic species that they found there in order to preserve it, help with its maintenance, but also because they wanted to leave something behind as the first Greek study circle that worked, let's say, or focused on biodiversity. So the final event will be held in almost 1 month, where they will present their work to the municipality and also combine it with certain cooking and tasting activities with endemic aromatic herbs, so that there will be some open discussions about what are these endemic species, whether they are protected, what are their uses, etc. And some of the results that this study circle has achieved was that it has already been expressed by the participants and then our local partners that they really want to continue this study circle beyond the scope of the project. So this is really, really something positive. And they achieved to create, let's say, a number of citizens that they will act as ambassadors to their circles, to their community groups that they engage. What was also really interesting for the municipality of Amaroussion was that biodiversity and protection of biodiversity, which is something important in the agenda of the municipality, can actually be used as a tool to develop other municipal social services and initiatives, such as social experiments like this. So I think I will give the floor to our dear Greek local partner, Mr. Anargyros Roussos, to tell us more maybe about it, and tell us how has it been for a local authority, which is heavily urbanized, to tackle biodiversity issues and discuss about them with the citizens of the municipality.
Thank you, Haris, for your question, and thank you for this great presentation you gave on our effort and the effort of the members of our team. Actually, tackling biodiversity issues in our heavily urbanized local authority in Amaroussion can present unique challenges, but also opportunities for engagement and improvement. Given the fact that this kind of local experiment has never been implemented before in Greece, as far as I know, and as you said before, it was quite exciting yet challenging task that would have been, it has to be completed in a relatively short period of time, given the fact that we started our effort in September. And the group of people who responded in our call was already quite diverse itself, representing a variety of different categories of citizens, each having a different view on the subject and very different levels of knowledge. And through this process of our meetings, we managed to see on site the local flora and fauna, and sites where biodiversity is high and in sites where it's not, in parks in general, and in specific parks that have been planted to tackle climate change with special plants, indigenous plants, and in local streams and water creeks. The entire process of gathering and the team and engaging the members, then following the team as the members raise their awareness and on the subject through on the site surveying and literature, and we got a more profound opinion on what is biodiversity and what is already present in the municipal area and what is most valuable and what we should protect. And this whole process was utterly fascinating, I believe. And it revealed that common people, local citizens, can be transformed into biodiversity guardians through this process. Overall, tackling biodiversity issues in our urbanized area requires a multifaceted approach that engages citizens and integrates biodiversity. And I believe that this process fosters collaboration among citizens and other stakeholders. And by working together, local authorities should, let's say, support their citizens that can make, let's say, meaningful strides toward conserving biodiversity and creating more sustainable and resilient communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Nargile. Yeah, it's really interesting that most of the speakers of the mentors that you implemented the social experiments, you all highlight that with these small groups, let's say, of individuals, and as the time progressed over months and almost 1 year, they really became stewards and guardians of their local biodiversity. And it has changed in a way, the way they see or perceive nature. So thanks again, many thanks, Anargire. And last but not least, we can move to the fourth local initiative under Shared Green Deal, where Ms. Daniela Ribeiro will present us the Swedish biodiversity case study.
Yeah, thank you. I'm coming from the same institution as Mateja, so the Research Center of Slovenian Academies of Science and Art, and I've been following this social experiment in Sweden. The Stockholm Biodiversity Learning Experiment was facilitated by the Environment and Health Department of the City of Stockholm and is here represented by Peter Wiborn. Invites the active participation to delve into biodiversity. Despite the Stockholm's predominantly urban landscape, the city also boasts natural gems like the Järva Fältet Nature and Cultural Reserve, which is a forested area that interconnects the several northern parts of Stockholm. The study circle in Sweden is dedicated or was dedicated to unraveling ways to enhance and disseminate knowledge about biodiversity among the Stockholm residents, with a special focus on the engaged participants of the study circle. Moreover, the initiative seeks to uncover the historical and cultural heritage of this area, Järvenfältet area, examining how its past has shaped the present biodiversity. Next, please. This social experiment can be characterized as a flow learning. It means that facilitates inspirational and memorable learning experiences to the participants of the study circle, involving the making learning both enjoyable and instructive, and also emphasizing experiential engagement to capture participants' attention and receptivity, and last but not least, providing direct and intuitive encounters with biodiversity. This active Participation is therefore a cornerstone of this social experiment, with participants involved in constructing nests for birds and bats, creating wild bee hotels, and establishing sand beds for pollinators, as well as contributing to pond cleaning up efforts. The nature school, Eggy Guard, serves as a central hub, especially during the bad weather, or when participants were engaging in preparatory activities such as building the nests for the birds. In fair weather, the study circle primarily unfolds outdoors through the biodiversity walks and talks. Every meeting had a different thematic, so they were deciding in which thematic they are going to talk. And the successful execution of this social experiment also acknowledges the collaboration from other institutions, such as the local BirdLife of Sweden, as well as the experts that came to these study circle meetings, and they have play a role in imparting invaluable knowledge to enrich the study circle's participants' understanding of biodiversity. Next, please. The primary learning goal of this study circle is to enhance participants' understanding of local biodiversity, with action goals being to involve the creation and installation of the bird nests, both at the area of the nature reserve, as well as at local participants' houses, if they had a place to install these bird nests. They also prepared 2 public events designed to showcase the knowledge and accomplishments gained during the study circle, and the final event is scheduled for May 18 as a part of a broader celebration of the International Day of Biological Diversity. This experiment has been instrumental in engaging with citizens and introducing also the Stockholm Biodiversity Action Plan, and by fostering connections among the study circle participants that come from different backgrounds in this so diverse environment, where nature, cultural history, and biodiversity plays an integral role. It aims also to share insights into the significance of biodiversity in the city of Stockholm and highlights the various ways in which the society relies on and interconnects with it. Next, please. Next, I think, yeah. One more. Yeah, Peter, I want to express my gratitude for the successful execution of this social experiment that was attended with more than 30 participants. And I would like to take this opportunity and ask you, how has it been for you and for your organization, the City of Stockholm, running such a social experiment?
Well, dear all, thank you for inviting me to this webinar, and thank you, Daniela, for the great presentation and your Swedish pronunciation. That was great. In this so-called social experiment, we build on the tradition of study circles in Sweden, which is going back to the 1920s, where the first study circle, named Home of Free Thoughts, started by 2 brothers as a small farm. So now, 100 years later, we use the same method, now in a setup not by non-formal associations as usual, but by the City of Stockholm, which is quite special. And I'm also delighted that this concept seemed to have been adopted and developed all over Europe. So, as you said, every one of the study circle participants in this large group, we gathered some 35 participants at each meeting. They had very different knowledge regarding biodiversity from the start. Some just had vague knowledge, some had quite a lot of knowledge, and some were even practical experienced in working for biodiversity. So it was a very diverse group coming from all around this nature reserve area and different housing areas, both poorer, socially excluded, and more socially included, so to say. But what was connecting all the members of the group from the start was their general appreciation for nature, just being in nature, walking, experiencing, and so on. But over time, I can see that the group has widened their knowledge quite widely, quite deeply. Both the walks, the talks, and all the practical work together has connected people from different social paths, so to say. And the conversations we've had in the group and how people share the feelings of being part of something bigger, like biodiversity, or bigger as being a human in biodiversity, has been really touching. And for example, one lady wrote to me last week and she said, every meeting in the group is fantastic. Thank you for showing us nature perfection. And nature perfection, that is in a city. Another example, a retired couple came back and they were so eagerly sharing the pictures of the bird nests they had put up close to their apartment in a real dense housing area. And they said, well, the study circle meetings is the absolutely best moment each month. So I would say that this is really affecting people's ability, knowledge, willingness to share insights about biodiversity, to share experiences, but also to work in a practical way or in the ways they can work for biodiversity. Of course, we have some challenges, like winter in Sweden. At 1 or 2 of our meetings, we had -20 degrees snow outside, so it was hard to find biodiversity. But then we had the opportunity to work really closely to the nature school and the beautiful place where we could return to every time we didn't have so much time to be outside. But nevertheless, we have been outside every time. So I'm really thrilled about that this worked so well with this group, and also the appreciation that we have been given both from the participants and from the city officers and politicians in the city. So yeah, it's been great, actually. The short answer to your question, it's been really great. And the participants, they really want to continue. They don't want to stop this study circle. So we are planning on continuing in different ways and in different areas of the city as well. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Daniela. I think that was the best takeaway message, that it has been just great running a social experiment like that. Lots of things to learn also from the Swedish study case. And now we are quite lucky to have with us Ms. Agnes Soliomi from the Martin Luther University of Halle-Wittenberg. Agnes is working on Project Planet 4B, which is another EU project that aims to shed more light on these links between biodiversity and everyday decision making. Agnes, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Harris, and thanks for having Planet 4B. It was super exciting to hear all your experience and so inspirational. So I think it's already amazing. So basically, I'm Agnes in this Harry side. I'm the co-coordinator of Planet 4B, and I saw some Planet 4B faces in the webinar crowd. So that's really nice to see that. And basically, we are dealing with decision makings at individual, institutional, and community levels. And I just wanted to share some experience with you. We also have case studies, and that's why I want to show some examples from the local schools in Hungary and to the fashion industry in Italy. But what is Planet 4B exactly? If I get the next slide, please. it's a bit of a daunting abbreviation, but basically we are trying to understand how the values, the intersectionality aspects, the leverage points, the attitudes, norms, behaviors, all these kind of aspects we should expect influence our decision making and how that influences how we consider biodiversity and what we do, how we act on that. So one main aim is to understand, get all this knowledge as much as possible. And the second is to use that knowledge and try to have some impact on policy and all the societal frames that influence what we do with biodiversity. And how we do that. Basically, first we try to understand what's the knowledge out there on decision making, on intersectionality, on biodiversity, and try to take all that thing and think about what kind of methods we could put together in a mixes that will impact how we behave. So we focus on creative methods and deliberative methods because we want to look beyond how biodiversity policies and regulations, how incentives like financial incentives and how information provisions are the classic scopes of changing behaviors impact on that. So here we mostly focus on like exhibitions, walk the talk, photo voice, serious games and how playing games can impact decisions and choice architecture methods. So we try to take that and work with them in 11 intensive and extensive cases that I will talk a bit later on. And again, we take all this knowledge again and we try to influence policy on it at the global, at the EU level mostly. And of course, we communicate our input and build synergies. That's why it's extra useful to be here today and great. So what are the cases? We have 11 cases. In 5 is place-based, so it's very much like yours. And the focus is on intersectionality and how that kind of aspect define our decision making in terms of biodiversity. So our partner Nina in Norway, it focuses on how disabled children can maybe have better reach to natural areas. In the UK, our partners in Coventry and Dadima tries to understand how the minority communities can be more attached to outdoors or how that influences the prioritization of biodiversity. Something similar happens in Germany with MLU and CGR partners here, tries to understand how various urban youth from different backgrounds considers green spaces. And then FIBO and the Swiss focuses on farmers and tries to see how religious background maybe defines how we consider certain agro-biodiversity measures, how we more prioritize biodiversity if we have one or the other religion. And our partner IFZ in Graz, Austria, they try to see how they can include minority women into gardening and how that knowledge can also help policy making at the local level. So that's our place-based things. And then we also look at different sectoral cases because we understand, of course, they are one of the main reasons behind biodiversity loss. So our partner at PISA, they look at how the fashion industry considers biodiversity in the whole value chain. In ESSRG in Hungary, they have 2 cases, agrobiodiversity and female farmers, so how seed selection is defined by gender and other aspects, and also how local schools can prioritize in their curricula school gardens and how that impacts different children with different backgrounds, and also how different migrant workers all around Europe define how we choose certain agriculture measures, thanks to our Swiss partner FIBO. And there is also a global case about the value change connection with the Netherlands and Brazil and how indigenous knowledge impacts that. And there is our Nina again on the sustainable investment behavior, so how financial incentives are defined by different psychological biases and how we can change that so investors consider more biodiversity. It's a really wide aspect we're trying to go over there and where we are in terms of the cases. So in all cases, we wanted to have literature review first, so we have a better understanding of what's been happening. And there has been stakeholder analysis and stakeholder mapping. So one of the important aspects of Planet for B is intersectionality. So we wanted to make sure that power asymmetries and all kinds of things are reflected well when selecting stakeholders to participate. So we considered race, gender, religion, etc. And this is one of the key definers of also how learning communities, these are the case study stakeholders, are defined and designed. So that was an important aspect. And where we are in the project, which just started last year, 2 years ago, we also set up these learning communities in terms of the place-based case studies, which are from these different stakeholders, and then also the stakeholder advisory boards, which are mostly for the cases. And the main aim is, so through these kind of interventions, we build up transformative pathways, either through the sectors or at the local communities, to see what we can do differently, how we can change, how we can transform biodiversity decision-making so we have a better planet, so to speak. So in the clouds, you see all of the different interventions, the case studies selected to try to influence how people consider biodiversity. Next slide, please. I was tricky there with the slides. So what have been the lessons learned so far? We understood that if we want to have something really effective and impactful, we need to have transdisciplinary learning communities. So a range of people has to be involved from a range of different organizations. And they have to come from different backgrounds, different sectors, different minority groups. So to also understand the power asymmetries. Of course, we need to choose some kind of interventions, because here we have the liberty to choose, and the cases have the liberty to choose whichever interventions they want to do. So we collected 100 different methods, and they had the chance to choose whatever they fit best. So it was important. It was like a process with the learning community, but we had to make sure that this is aligned with their motivations and what they want to reach. Otherwise, if they lose interest, it's difficult to have a successful case. And basically, obviously, there are some cases when there are groups or minority, it has to be ensured that we have a safe space, so they are free to interact and learn together and feeling safe. And so far, in terms of the cultural aspects, what we have learned is very similar to some of that you have shared in the next slide, that basically biodiversity is sometimes difficult to grasp. So some of our stakeholders, learning committee members, they were like, what's that? But whenever there was somebody with a guide there or could explain them, like in your case, the local expert, then it was just much easier for them to grasp it and understand nature, so to speak, or what biodiversity is. Of course, in the sectoral cases, biodiversity is more often a side issue. And if they understand something that's more climate change, not necessarily biodiversity loss. So there's still something to talk a bit more about. And what came handy is to use other framings. So not necessarily start with biodiversity, but more like health or nutrition or outdoor activities to get the attention of the stakeholders to join. And ultimately, what we heard today from all of you is we are very keen on understanding what the impact was. So we understand that there are interventions, and then people come together, and then they became guardians of nature. That's amazing. But then what happens with the other behaviors? Do they change that as well? Or how we measure the overall impact? But ultimately, I think we just have to be very happy that bringing all the stakeholders together, it's already changed. They already start talking to each other, which otherwise they wouldn't have. And I think it's already an impact we have reached. So, and this is the Planet for B Consortium. We have 16 partners and 100 people more or less involved in all of our cases. And please feel free to join to our social media or check out our websites. We have some nice results already from the Planet for B outcomes. One is very specifically useful probably for you, because we are thinking about, we assessed discourse analysis, so how biodiversity is featured in different media So maybe that's the most valuable we could share. Also, apart from our experience with the cases, and more to come because we still have 2 years to go. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Agnes. That was really, really interesting. The experiences from another project, dealing with this issue from another angle. I found very interesting the intersectionality that Planet 4B brings with the learning communities, and this is also something very, very interesting. But it is an opportunity to be able to work with a group of people for a period of almost 1 year and be able to observe all of these changes, these small changes. So that will be from all the case studies that we've heard today. I see that there are some questions in the chats that they're being answered, but of course, feel free also to pose a question now to our local partners and our experts, if something was quite interesting to you. Otherwise, I can also invite you for a last slide or question. I see a
I'm fascinated by the brilliance of the variety of the different shared Green Deal sites. And the one piece that I find interesting is most of it is terrestrial. There's not a lot around water bodies, freshwater restoration, and freshwater bodies. And that's kind of interesting, particularly because obviously the Green Deal focused very broadly, and now they're talking about the Blue Deal because the Green Deal did not provide very large, significant focus on water bodies. So this was an interesting, not confirmation, but an interesting data point that most of these study groups did not look around water and water bodies. So thank you very much for this. And I was just wondering if anybody had any comments about the focus and the fact that most of these areas did not include water bodies. Thank you.
Thank you, Phyllis. Peter, would you like to answer that question? I see your hand raised.
It's an excellent question because we more frequently talk about here in Stockholm about
we cannot hear you very, very well, Peter. If you could put the microphone closer to you.
Yeah, there. Now it's better.
Thank you.
More and more often we speak here in Stockholm about the blue-green infrastructure that we need to care for. And in our study circle, we focused for the first meetings on frog ponds and a small stream going through this nature cultural reserve. Of course, we have the Baltic Sea close to where we are, but the main reason that we are talking about more about green structures is that's the most predominant feature of the area. But of course, the water bodies is equally or sometimes more important. And in our case, it also poses some interesting questions. If we have both an endangered fish species in the streams as well as we have predominant beavers affecting the stream, who should we get rid of? We have to decide as humans. So it's also about how humans see nature and how we manage nature on what grounds. So we've had quite some interesting discussion about the preservation of rivers. Maybe it's not the preservation of rivers, it's preservation of the human heart or so.
Mateja, would you like to comment on this discussion?
Yes. In Slovenia, it was quite similar as Peter described for the Sweden. Of course, the water was also addressed, the water bodies, but the local river, the riverbed, and so on. But it was not primarily focused on water itself. So I guess this was the matter of the local area. If maybe some area would be close to lakes or area and so on, it would be much easier probably for the locals to decide that they want to focus on water. But of course, at the landscape level, water elements, water bodies was also addressed. For example, in Slovenia, when members decided to explore birds, they also browse for the birds close to the riverside, and they differ among birds that they like to spend time close to the river, or the birds that are more usually that are found at the green infrastructure, like the meadows, or the gardens, or the hedgerows. So I guess this is also part of the local characteristics of the local areas.
Thank you. The reason I mentioned it is because I'm part of a Horizon project on freshwater ecosystem restoration. And one of the areas that we are looking for is communities that have used study groups or other social methodologies or other methodologies to take responsibility for pieces of their rivers or water bodies and create recreational or preservation areas. And so as we look at various countries, we find that that's not as widely accepted and expected as we thought originally. So that was the reason that I find this group of studies so interesting as a data point for the fact that indeed that when people look at nature, they don't necessarily focus on river reaches, they focus on their overall environment. So that's very useful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Phyllis. Daniela.
Yeah, there was a question that I couldn't answer. Maybe some of the local partners can answer. How did you recruit the participants of the study circle? Does any of you want to share the recruitment part of the participants?
Yes, I can well share my experiences. We used social media, we used boards, advertisement boards around the nature reserve in the different housing areas, and the word of mouth, so to say. So we had actually applications for over 50 people coming to our, so our challenge was we wanted to have a study circle of 8 to maybe 14 people, but we had no problem to offer everyone. So eventually at the end, when we said that they should attend every meeting, 35 of them remained. So we were a bit surprised, but also thrilled about it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah, it was a different experience, I think, for the 4 local partners. The recruitment phase, depending on, how populated the area was, or what kind of connections they have, or engagement with other social groups or community members. Agnes, would you like?
Yeah, sorry. Can I raise a question?
Definitely, go ahead.
So I would be asking the case studies. Have you noticed any kind of changes in the behavior beyond that they put up the bird nest, or they actually go out? Or any kind of like further behavior change that is resulting from that? They understand biodiversity is more important, like changing eating habits or using more sustainable transport, or anything else that shows that they thought it a bit further and then they really change other segments of their behavior as well.
Okay.
Mary?
Sorry.
Maria Nargira.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, I'm here. Yeah, I would like to answer to this question because with Anarieros we work together to this case, and the most interesting reaction I have ever heard that summarizes our whole attempt is the response of one of our members in the study circle who just mentioned that now I'm not just walking in the street and see green. I see specific plants and I know their names and why they are there. And I think this summarizes the whole process and the real impact in the people. And it's the same also for us, okay, that we coordinated this process. It's also for me that I'm not an expert on biodiversity. And I feel that, yeah, we shared very common experience of change with these people, with the members. And everybody had the same feeling that there is not simply green around us. It's something more.
Let's see, John. Hi, John.
I just want to kind of answer that question as well. So, people's opinions kind of changed across the project. Kind of, I think, study circles were trying to highlight different things across it. And as Rhiannon had mentioned before about farming, obviously there's a lot of kind of pressure on farming all across Europe, all across the world, and stuff like that. And we live in a very dairy rich area, like the area would be called Golden Vale, because it's between various mountain ranges, and the land be very rich. So it's very dominantly kind of beef and dairy. So we kind of focused on what farmers are doing in the area and stuff like that, like doing to maintain their hedgerows, being and leaving margins, so it was kind of a lot of this stuff people that were as part of the project didn't even know about. So it was very important to kind of share this knowledge, because even like as a rural area, most people would live in the countryside, but even they didn't realize the actions that farmers and people are taking, and even the small actions that they could take themselves to kind of to improve biodiversity, and even just to work in cohesion with farmers, So yeah.
Thank you, John. I think what was also interesting and transmitted to us by the Greek participants of the study circle was that they also felt the need to express recommendations to the local partners, to the municipality, about measures for protection, about cleaning their parks, about such small things that really mean a lot to local and especially urban biodiversity. You had plenty of time, I think, to scan Slido. We can see the results. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Maybe it was not active all this time, but there is a last question, and I see we are ahead of time, but perhaps we can close with some takeaway messages on from what you heard today, from your experiences. Just use a short phrase that will tell us more about how all these discussions we are having about this disconnection that Europeans experience from their local for their local biodiversity can actually be narrowed down. We've heard a lot of inspiring case studies and stories, and I hope also for participants participating from other parts of the world and not just Europe, I see some answers, sharing knowledge and being more connected and learning by doing. I think we've heard that phrase today. Education and opportunities for closer proximity to nature. Very important. Also, I think expressed by many study circle participants, especially older people, older participants of the study circle. There's diversity of connection between people and nature depending on the country culture. Definitely knowledge about the importance of nature and people. Also quite true. And also quite interesting to see what the difference of importance that everybody places on biodiversity. Knowing and experiencing gives the ability to act. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop now. We have, I think this is the last slide from our side. Just to give you some updates on the project's next steps, is that the Shared Green Deal will create a network of individuals and organizations that are interested in general about the use of social sciences and humanities to support the implementation of the EU Green Deal. If you are interested to be involved in shaping this network, feel free to scan this barcode now that you already have your phones out.
Sorry, Harris, but I don't think you're showing the slide.
Yeah, the slide's not there.
Here we go again. Thank you, Patricia. Maybe. Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, Harris, to interrupt you. Could I add something about the network?
Please go ahead, Valeria. It's, you should be the one actually presenting it.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Just a couple of minutes. I know we are a bit late. So first of all, thank you so much. I'm Valeria Fantini from ALDA, European Association for Local Democracy. And as Harris was mentioning, in the upcoming years, we are creating these very big initiatives, which is, again, a network starting from the project made by individuals and organizations. Again, for individuals and organizations who are interested in supporting EU Green Deal's ambitions, among which there is also the topic of today, which is biodiversity. It might be relevant for you because, again, it will run events and disseminate resources in the upcoming years. And also give you the opportunity to build your capacity, so the capacity of the network's members, and explore sustainability and replicability of socially innovative practices in order to meet climate change goals. So just to give you an idea, for example, what could the network do for those who are part of it? You might be able to connect with many diverse European stakeholders. You might be able to participate to activities, but also to have tools to implement activities in the territory that are, of course, on environment and climate, that are socially innovative. And I say this because before I saw there were many researchers here today. You can also have access to relevant insights from social sciences and humanities research. So this is very interesting. But why are we saying this now? Because we are in this very embryonal phase of the network. And at this moment, we are defining the goals and objectives as it will be launched in the upcoming years. So please, we invite you to be involved and meaning to share with us your feedback and actually your insight. So what would you, how would you like to be potentially involved in this type of network? What would you need from this type of network? Again, this is very important. I invite you to scan this survey and complete it after this webinar ends. It won't take you more than 10 minutes, but it's going to be very important, especially if you want to be further engaged in the activities of the project and the network. So thank you so much. And thank you, Harris, for passing me the mic.
Thank you, Valeria. Thank you. I couldn't say it better. So yes, thank you all. This is the last slide. If you found this webinar interesting, the project and all of these inspiring case studies, we hope you found it interesting. As interesting as it is for us to work with our local partners and share from their experiences. I invite you all to follow us on social media, and our next webinar is 25th of March, if I'm not mistaken. You can register and find more information in the website of the project. Thank you all for participating and all of the speakers, and see you in the next webinar of Shared Green Deal. Have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.